Hey guys, so today we are going to answer a subscriber question, and the question in question is, Fredrik, is C++ a good career option for game developers? So let's get into it. Now, well, the exact formulation of the question was, is games development using C++ a good career option for software engineers? And that's a slightly different question actually now that I think about it, but I digress. Let's get into it. So the thing is that I think that we need to touch on two things before we have a complete and satisfying answer to this question. And the first thing we need to kind of do is to destruct this statement a little bit. So the first question is C++, games development using C++, if that combination is a good investment? And I will say absolutely yes. If you are a games developer, it is very, very, very useful for you to know C++ because C++ is probably one of the most used languages for games development in the industry today. There are, of course, other options out there, but if we're talking about serious 3D development and the large-scale games, using leveraging the really powerful 3D engines that are out there, C++ is absolutely the way to go here. And even if you want to do more retro type of games development and so forth, C++ is pretty much around. Not saying that there aren't any other options, but I'm saying that for most game developers, C++ is most likely going to be your primary language for most things. So that's the first thing we need to touch on a little bit. But I think that there's another part of this question. Is games development with C++ a good career option for a software developer? That is a very good question because that kind of entails the second part of this, and that is it a good career option? I mean, if you're going to be a games developer using C++, that's absolutely, that combination, that's perfect. If you want to do games development, go with C++. But is that profession, that combination, actually a good investment for career purposes? I will state maybe. It very much depends on what you're going for. You see, I will make a statement here, and hopefully a lot of if there are other professionals out there watching this, I think that we can all agree that games development within IT is probably the most high risk, if at least on the high risk scale, career-wise. I'm not saying that it's not a feasible career option, but I'm stating that it is among the more risky areas. You can think of it as stock options. It's high risk stock for a lot of developers. You see that that part of the industry, to begin with, it's a fairly niched part of the industry. I mean, I'm not saying that there's nobody doing it. There's tons of games companies and studios and companies doing tons of awesome stuff. But if you want to make, it depends on your, the story you want to be your career. If you want to make yourself into the next notch, or create something that makes you a super rich millionaire or something like that, the odds of that happening are abysmal. It can happen, but think of it as acting. I mean, for every one famous actor you know of, there are thousands of actors who work in the fast food industry. So that's a way of that you should carry with you. Games development is very much not just, if software development and programming is a talent business, I would even go as far as to say that games development is even more a talent business than software development, like just regular software development. Regular software development is something that is it sounds kind of weird, but it's almost safe in comparison to games development, because the fact of the matter is that when you develop a game, you're basically creating a piece of art or a creative product where the purpose is entertainment value, and that's a very, very subjective thing. There's tons of these companies out there who, they make a game, and you should know that just making the game, unless you have some type of deal with, I don't know, one of the big publishers, it's going to be high risk to develop a game. If you want to do it yourself, you're going to have to take that money out of your own pocket. And if the game takes too long to develop, or it's not fun or something like that, and you know, you're not going to get your money back because, well, people are not going to pay for your game. So there's a lot of upfront investment without a lot of certainty whether or not something is going to work out or not. And it's just, I'm not going to go too far because I don't want to dissuade you, because it is a very fun profession, but that's one part of it. But yeah, I can also tell you from first-hand experience that it's not uncommon that as a games developer, even if your goal maybe is just to work with games development, there is also the likelihood that some people will pay you less, partly because of the way the industry works, that, hey, it's high risk, people don't really know how things are going to go. And that means that, yeah, they don't have as much money to pay you all the time, depending, of course, on which company you work for. If you work for one of the really, really large companies, it's a different story. But they are not all of the opportunities, you know, they don't represent every opportunity out there. And apart from that, there's also this, I really dislike this, because it's such a, I think it's, I don't know what to call it, but something that you will likely hear if you start working in games development is that some employer somewhere you will be told that, well, or the mentality from some people is that, oh, you're developing games. I mean, that's just fun, right? So you should be okay with just having a lower salary because you're having fun developing this game. Do you have any idea how much work goes into making a good game? I mean, even a shitty game takes tons and tons of investment and time and frustration. I mean, it's the weirdest thing ever. It's and it happens. I don't kid yourself. It happens. There's tons of these people out there who will tell you, who will motivate a lower salary by stating, "Oh, you're having fun developing games." And I've talked to coworkers that used to work in the game industry, and this is a fact that this happens. And I think it's such an odd thing. Think about it yourself. If you're gonna, because the thing is, that's what I found. I enjoy playing games more than I enjoy making them. I'm not the sort of person who enjoys working on the same, depending on what game I'm making, working on the same mechanic or the same level for maybe 3 months. Just developing this over and over and just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again until it works well enough so that the person who actually is going to pay for the game is going to have a nice experience. Some people do like this, some people don't. But you should know that for career purposes, it is a high-risk business. If you have the passion and the talent and you really want it, you will be able to make a career out of it. But if you're just looking for a fun job and you're not so, if you're uncertain about it, I would say be a little bit, be careful, because there are safer ways to make a living. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you are going into games development, C++ is a really, really good investment. It's one of the best, if not the best, language for you. It's going to help you quite a bit. But you should also ask yourself whether or not you actually, if you're invested enough to make it within the games development world, because it's very much like being an actor. It's something that it's a very high, I mean, if it works out for you, you can become a millionaire. I mean, you can go really far in that industry, but you should know that there are a lot of people who, the market is super rough. There's tons of people making games, and it's very much a talent business. So you have to be prepared for that. Have a great day.